Hey, Gray Steel Nation. Sully here with the Barbell Prescription, keeping you strong, fit, healthy, and vibrant in the second half of life. Thanks for watching and subscribing. It is a mistake to think that when we're training the barbell movements, we are just making our musculoskeletal system bigger and stronger. We are certainly doing that, but there's so much more going on behind the scenes. When you first learn to deadlift or press or squat, you begin by learning a movement pattern. This learning is encoded as a program, a movement routine in your brain. And this pattern, when activated, recruits zillions of motor units. A motor unit is a motor neuron and all the muscle fibers it controls. When you first learn to deadlift, say, you begin the process of hooking that deadlift program in your brain into more and more of the motor units involved in the movement. Motor units throughout your body, chest, back, arms, legs, buttocks, all have to be recruited into the movement pattern and be turned on and off at the right time. This is a situation of maximizing your neuromuscular efficiency, and this is the primary foundation for early gains. Now, it's not the case that there's no muscle building during this early phase, but motor learning is primary at this time. Later, as you get more efficient at recruiting motor units and the weight keeps getting heavier, the fibers in those motor units just have to get bigger for you to get stronger, and muscle mass improves markedly. The point here is that the assumption of training is heavily dominated by changes in your brain and nervous system. You are learning something, refining the brain's program model of the movement and its ability to recruit more motor units into that movement pattern. The program will undergo constant refinement and polishing as your training goes on, just as your muscle fibers undergo progressive adaptation and hypertrophy to deal with increasing loads. This phenomenon illustrates the potential of our neurobiology to adapt to new demands. It's neuroplasticity in action. In the case of learning a barbell movement, we impose a motor demand, and our brain adapts by developing and refining a movement pattern and marshaling and improving peripheral resources for the progressive improvement of performance. New synapses and pathways are started. Neurons are asked to participate in additional networks, and they become more robust participants in those networks, becoming more active and more valuable and less vulnerable to senescence and cell suicide. There are collateral effects all over the brain as we develop new ways of thinking about the movement. Training the barbell movements trains the brain, but only to a point. It cannot stop there. Notwithstanding the collateral effects just mentioned, the principle of specificity suggests that the neurological benefit of training, while it definitely seems to be a thing, will be relatively limited. It will improve our performance of the pattern and open up new ways of thinking about ourselves as physical beings, which is just huge. But the impact on higher brain functions, while positive, will not be limitless. So, just as it is a mistake to live a purely cognitive life and ignore the physical, it is a mistake to let our brains atrophy even as we train our way up to a huge squat. Neuroplasticity works both ways, and neuronal networks that are underutilized will atrophy, just like the components of an unused motor unit. And just as we wouldn't dream of a training program that was just curls, we can't rely on just one sort of activity to train our brain. The aging brain must be trained across broad domains. Memory, decision-making, abstract reasoning and problem-solving, and other executive and cognitive functions have to be trained to maintain a healthy brain and stave off the cognitive decline of aging. This requires dedication, discipline, and time. Fortunately, it also involves a lust for adventure and knowledge, the simple pleasures of learning and mastery, stronger relationships, and a better quality of life. So, how do we get started? Simple. Start where you want to and challenge yourself. And people have talked about an intellectual linear progression, and that's as good a model as any, in part because it tells us we're not talking about Sudoku or crosswords here. That would be the neurobiological equivalent of the shake weight. No, we're talking about embarking on new journeys of learning and thinking that will recruit multiple cognitive faculties to successfully navigate. The possibilities are endless. Your possibilities are endless. Learn a language, study philosophy or history, read the great books of your civilization or your faith, take up carpentry, learn to raise honeybees, Read the works of Shakespeare and study them. Take a course in physiology. Take a chemistry class. Become a barbell coach. Learn to cook French cuisine. Go back to school to study art history or interior decorating. Start a business on the side. Learn to program or take up robotics. Learn everything you can about how to write a novel, and then write one. Run for city council. Take piano lessons. Every one of these activities, and so many more, will churn on and challenge vast regions of your brain. Taking up carpentry, for example, will challenge your math skills, your spatial reasoning, your problem solving, your organizational skills, your memory, your decision making, and your creativity. Piano lessons will force you to learn a new language that fuses mathematics, sound, meaning, and motion, connecting parts of your brain that haven't talked to each other much before, and probably stimulate an appreciation for cultural history, the lives of composers, and perhaps even the sciences of acoustics and physics. Learning Spanish or Japanese won't just challenge the huge and hugely connected language centers of your brain, but will also expand your understanding of manners, culture, history, and people, stimulating new interests, new areas of study, new challenges. All of this comes with a vast expansion of your horizons and new potentialities for being. We live in a golden age of learning. Free courses at the collegiate level are there for the taking. Go to Coursera.com and take a look there for starters. Or go check out Crash Course on YouTube, or Masterclass, or just a local library or used bookstore. More than any generation in history, we have almost limitless opportunities for learning and exploration. Not to avail yourself of all this treasure is sad and inexcusable. Just grunting under the bar 2 or 3 times a week is not what makes us athletes of aging. The training is essential, yes, and fundamental, and good for our brains. But as I've said so many times before, the acquisition of strength is not an end, but a means to achieve a better, more vibrant, more joyful, and more useful life. You have to use your strength. So let's get out there and get some cognitive PRs. Brain gains. To build strength and fitness and remain intellectually dormant is the equivalent of renovating a house that will never be lived in. Physical strength is just the beginning. Train your brain, your mind, and your spirit to be a complete athlete of aging, one who truly lives life to the fullest in every dimension. Stay tuned. We got more great content on training and living the life of the athlete of aging coming right up.